a brief presentation on a fairly comprehensive piece of work is Rochelle Altman, who's the policy analyst from the Bureau of Environmental Services. Thanks for staying with us this morning and welcome.
Thank you. Again, for the record, my name is Rochelle Altman, Bureau of Environmental Services. And as Commissioner Fish mentioned, I'm just going to briefly walk you through some code changes regarding BES's administrative review process. And just for the public who might not be familiar, administrative review is the name for a process we use where customers can ask for reconsideration of a Bureau decision or action affecting them. And BES has a variety of programs that use administrative review, and with an eye to making these processes more customer-friendly, we took a close look at our code and rules and identified a variety of changes that we wanted to make to achieve 3 goals. The first goal was to enhance customer service by making requesting and participating in administrative review more predictable and consistent, particularly across programs. We had all different levels of detail in our rules and processes, and so we wanted to achieve a basic level of consistency and predictability for customers. Second, we wanted to expand access to administrative review by making eligibility for review the default and then simply having a short list of items not eligible for review, rather than having incomplete lists of what is eligible and not eligible for review in rule and also sometimes code. And then third, these efforts would facilitate consistency and administration by BES staff. So the most substantive and numerous changes we identified were to administrative rules, where the details regarding administrative review processes either lived or what we felt most appropriately would live. However, we also identified changes to code, which we bring to you today. The changes to rule were adopted under existing authority and revised existing rules, and those took effect earlier this summer with Commissioner Fish's support. And so, to briefly summarize the most significant code changes that we're proposing to you, they would make eligibility for review the default and would highlight that any exceptions to eligibility will be specified in administrative rules. They remove lists of items regarding eligibility from code so that they're just conveniently located in one place for customers, and that would be in rule. This also helps avoid confusion when lists and code don't match up to lists and rule. In addition, we are proposing to delete language regarding appeals to the code hearings officer, where those provisions are out of date, where those provisions are inconsistent with more recently adopted city code hearings code in Title 22 in Portland City Code. And finally, we are proposing changes to make language gender neutral. And I just really want to emphasize that the changes that we're proposing don't make any changes to what is eligible for review. So if something prior to the code and rule changes was treated by the Bureau as either eligible for review, we're not, those items are not changing. There were a few instances in the rulemaking where something previously was on neither list, and that had created confusion and frustration for all parties, and so we clarified whether that item was or was not eligible for review. Janice Thompson from the city, from the Citizens Utility Board, along with members of the Development Review Advisory Committee and the Portland Utility Board, were all given an opportunity to review, and we solicited input from them. And Janice Thompson, she actively engaged in the review and informed what became the public comment draft. And no public comments were received, but Janice, who's not here today, she did share with me what she believes are the positive impacts for our ratepayers and customers. She authorized me to share the following. She wrote, referencing some code changes that the Ombudsman championed in 2015, quote, "CUB supported the initial code changes suggested by the City Ombudsman. Additional clarifications to BES provisions seemed needed, and I was pleased that BES planned a review of code and rules to enhance clarity. I let BES know of my interest in this review and appreciated the opportunity to make comments and suggestions at key steps in their process. There is now more consistency and transparency in BES rules and code, which should be helpful to both the Bureau but also to customers." End quote. So in sum, the proposed changes in combination with recently adopted rule revisions will benefit ratepayers and customers by making, requesting, and participating in our administrative review processes more customer-friendly, and by ensuring consistency in the way that our Bureau staff administer administrative reviews. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I hope you will support our proposed code changes.
Rochelle, I'm hopelessly biased because you work for one of my bureaus, but may I just say, even at this late hour, that was an A-plus presentation. Thank you very much. It was comprehensive, it was succinct, you gave us all the information we needed, and you set a very high bar. Thank you very much.
And you smiled at us the whole time. I mean, it's rare that people smile at us when they're testing.
You smile at me? Do that?
Oh, she's smiling at you.
There you go. There you go. That explains it.
Thank you. Signed up. No one else signed up. We're non-emergency ordinance, second reading.
Nice work, Rochelle.
Commissioner
Thank you
Fish,
very much.
you have 2 items left, and it's unfortunately you at the end of the rotation for your items. They're listed for 35 minutes.
Oh, let me ask, who's here for 992? Could you come forward for a second? I have a question, just I want to ask you. Does this have to be addressed today for any particular reason? If the presiding officer set this over to next week, does that create any kind of logjam for you?
Mr. Commissioner, Ruben Gonzalez with Bureau of Environmental Services. It is our preference to present today, if at all possible. We were on the agenda for last week and we were bumped to this week. We do have a timeline with respect to this acquisition. In that we've already secured our CMGC contractor and we're hoping to begin construction.
So Commissioner Fritz, Madam President, we could potentially take 993 and set that over. Because that's not time sensitive if we do this quickly.
I realize that your Parks Bond staff have been here all morning, but that would be my preference because we always seem to rush the report on Parks Bond, and I'd rather have enough time to
So
really think about
is the
it.
Parks Bond team okay with that? I mean, it would be not our preference, but could we set this over and find, maybe see if we can find a special time next week, Carla, to have this presentation?
Hi, I'm Robin Runoff, the Bond Program Manager. We would be completely happy to come back to you with a little more time next week. But do know that we are presenting the report to our oversight committee tomorrow at our regular meeting with them. So as long as you're okay with that, I'm happy to move.
I'm anticipating, given so much, all the good news in the report, that we're going to accept it fulsomely. But I do agree with Commissioner Fritz that the default would be we'd rush right through it if we would not take a chance, take the time to actually acknowledge the work that's gone into this. So
You have a hard out this afternoon at 3.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
so what I would suggest is we just set 993 over till next week, and we'll work with the clerk's office to see if we can get a time, and then just do
What time's
992.
that?
There is, we can do the 10:15 that morning, next Wednesday.
Hey, how about that?
Get
Get that upgraded.
That's your comments. So we're going to set over 993 till next week, 10:15 time certain.
Thank you, Carla.
And now let's read 992. It's our last item of the morning.
992, authorize the Bureau of Environmental Services to acquire certain permanent and temporary property rights necessary for construction of the Southwest Capitol Highway Stormwater Improvements Project number E10939 through the exercise of the city's eminent domain authority.
Thank you, Council President. What I was going to do is thank your fine team who was here ready to prepare, and they all were left to go to lunch. I just wanted to appreciate that they sat here all morning and are willing to come back next week.
Thank you for that. They not only prepared a presentation, but we did a dress rehearsal yesterday, sent out a press release, so they were fired up to go. But I do think having a time certain gives us a little more freedom to present next week, so thank you very much. Colleagues, our final matter this morning is a multi-bureau project involving BES, PBOT, and the Water Bureau to improve Southwest Capitol Highway. This project includes stormwater management, new walkways and bikeways, and an upgraded water system. In order to build the green infrastructure necessary to manage the stormwater, BES will need to acquire certain property rights. We have BES staff here today to discuss the project. Joe Dvorak, Engineering Manager, Ruben Gonzalez, Project Manager, and Lisa Masinski, Environmental Specialist. Thank you all for being here. We set aside about 15 minutes. You get extra credit if you do it live.
Great, thank you, Commissioners. My name is Joe Dvorak, for the record, with BES. So we'll talk a little bit about the project background. We'll show some slides of the property question, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this point. I'll turn it over to Lisa.
For the record, I'm Lisa Masinski with the Bureau of Environmental Services. Portland's Bureau of slides here. Portland's Bureau of Transportation, Bureau of Environmental Services, and Water Bureau are working in coordination on street, stormwater, water main, fire suppression improvements on Southwest Capitol Highway. This project will improve safety and mobility for all modes of travel while improving stormwater management, protecting water quality in local streams, and updating water supply infrastructure to meet water demands. The project is focused on a 1 mile long stretch of Southwest Capitol Highway from Multnomah Village to West Portland. The project has an estimated construction value of around $18 million, and Environmental Services has committed $10.5 million to the project. This is just a little on the background. So BS has been engaged with residents in this neighborhood for several years due to the public and private stormwater issues that exist in this area. Unlike older parts of our city that developed with curbs and storm drains in the late 19th and early 20th century, this area was a semi-rural landscape annexed by the city in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s with no formalized stormwater infrastructure. This, combined with the steep slopes and low infiltrating soils, makes stormwater management in this area challenging. We see this project as an opportunity to collect and manage runoff from the new transportation system improvements, as well as incorporating surrounding drainage areas as part of a regional strategy which will maximize the impact of the project. In total, the stormwater system improvements will manage and treat an area of about 50 acres, which includes the project footprint of about 6 acres. So this project has been a long community priority for the transportation stormwater improvements. Design of the current project has had a robust public involvement process that began in 2016 and continues today. The Capitol Highway Subcommittee, a subset of the Volunteer Multnomah Neighborhood Association, has served as a sounding board for the project design elements and construction impacts. PBOT and BES staff performed 55 property visits or consultations to provide adjacent property owners information on the project impacts and their concerns. 3 project newsletters have been sent to 688 visit collaborations. 10 e-bulletins have been sent to a large email text distribution list that includes now more than 1,000 people. Large open houses with detailed project information were held, office hour events, staff meetings, and other open houses, and the construction-focused open houses planned for this fall. We did specific outreach, including letters, emails, phone calls, and site visits to the properties affected by the acquisition of the property rights, and have been having ongoing communication over the past year of design work. So I'm going to turn it over to Ruben, who's going to cover a bit more on the project specifics.
Good afternoon, Madam President and Commissioners. Ruben Gonzalez with Bureau of Environmental Services Design Services Division. Environmental Services completed a stormwater concept design analysis in 2016 and identified opportunities for neighborhood-scale regional stormwater facilities to treat and slow stormwater, and we did subsequent planning to identify suitable locations. The concept and initial design also included 24 distributed stormwater facilities or green streets, which were to be lined due to geotechnical concerns to prevent infiltration, and would have been placed within the multimodal transportation improvements integrated into the proposed PBOT improvements. At the 30% design stage, BES's Asset Systems Management Division tested the effectiveness of the proposed project scope. With a series of alternatives, this effort resulted in the removal of 24 distributed stormwater facilities and the retention of the 4 regional facilities, which will result in a capital and life cycle savings of $1.4 million and $2.5 million respectively. The BES project scope now includes a new stormwater collection and conveyance system in the roadway totaling about 7,000 linear feet. Flow from the new collection system will be routed to the 4 new regional stormwater treatment and detention facilities, which will improve water quality and protect downstream infrastructure and natural assets in the 3 local streams to which they discharge, Woods, Tryon, and Vermont Creeks. As mentioned, collectively, the regional facilities will treat and manage stormwater from within the 6-acre project area as well as additional areas totaling nearly 50 acres, and the system as a whole has been designed with future development and system expansion in mind. As can be seen from the graphic, 2 of the facilities will be located along Multnomah Boulevard west of 40th Avenue, 1 on Dolph Court just east of Capitol Highway, and 1 at the end of 42nd Avenue near Woods Memorial Natural Area. 2 of the 4 regional stormwater facilities, north and south Multnomah Boulevard facilities, require permanent and temporary property rights as described in the proposed legislation. A rendering of the South Multnomah stormwater facility is shown here. 2 vacant tax lots adjacent to the south of the southwest Multnomah Boulevard right-of-way between 45th and 40th Avenues are